The morning light in Loyalton, California usually brought a sense of peace and tranquility. The town, nestled in the heart of the Sierra Valley, was known for its serene mornings and close-knit community. But not this day. The rumbling started subtly, a distant tremor that soon escalated into a mechanical roar, shattering the morning calm. Residents of the Loyalton mobile estates awoke to a nightmare, their peaceful slumber abruptly ended by the cacophony of heavy machinery. An excavator, its massive jaws tearing at homes, was already at work, reducing their cherished abodes to rubble. Panic surged through the community like a tidal wave as residents scrambled to understand what was happening. This was no ordinary construction project, it was an eviction, as brutal as it was unexpected, leaving no time for preparation or protest. Their peaceful haven, a community of hardworking families and retirees, was under attack, their lives uprooted in an instant. Children clung to their parents, their eyes wide with fear and confusion, unable to comprehend the chaos unfolding around them. Elderly residents, some with walkers and canes, stumbled out of their homes in disbelief, their faces etched with shock and sorrow. The air filled with the grinding of metal, the crash of wood, and the cries of a community under siege, a symphony of destruction and despair. The American dream, for these residents, was being bulldozed right before their eyes, a stark reminder of the fragility of their existence. The excavator moved with a chilling precision, each swing of its arm another blow to the heart of the community. The mechanical beast showed no mercy, its metal jaws tearing through walls and memories alike. Homes where families had celebrated birthdays, holidays, and life's milestones were reduced to rubble in an instant. The echoes of laughter and joy were now replaced by the deafening sound of destruction. The air grew thick with dust and the smell of splintered wood, a grim testament to the destruction unfolding. The once clear skies were now clouded with the remnants of what used to be homes. Loyalton Mobile Estates, once a place of laughter and shared dreams, was now a scene of devastation. The community that had thrived here was now scattered, their lives upended in a matter of hours. The operator of the machine, hidden within its metal belly, seemed indifferent to the chaos and heartbreak he was causing. His focus was solely on the task at hand, oblivious to the human cost of his actions. Each crunch of metal, each shattering of glass, echoed the cries of the residents. The sounds of destruction were a cruel symphony, playing out the final act of a once vibrant community. Their pleas for him to stop, to listen, to show some humanity, were met with the cold, unfeeling roar of the engine. The desperation in their voices was palpable, but it fell on deaf ears. The demolition continued, a relentless assault on their lives and their dignity. The relentless machinery showed no signs of stopping, as if it were feeding on the very essence of the community it was destroying. Unbeknownst to the residents, their fate had been sealed weeks earlier, a fate they could never have anticipated. The owner of Loyalton Mobile Estates had vanished, leaving behind a trail of unpaid taxes and broken promises, a ghost town of shattered dreams. Enter California receivership and Mark Adams, appointed by the court to resolve the situation. A man with a mission, but no empathy. But instead of working with the residents, Adams chose a different path, one marked by a shocking disregard for human decency, a path that would lead to heartbreak and despair. Adams, claiming imminent health risks, ordered the immediate evacuation and demolition of the park. No notice, no compassion, just a swift, brutal decision, just the cold, hard machinery of the legal system grinding away their lives, leaving them with nothing but uncertainty and fear. The residents, many living paycheck to paycheck, were given no time to find alternative housing, pack their belongings, or process the shock of losing their homes. Their lives were upended in an instant. For them, the American dream had become a cruel nightmare, a stark reminder of how quickly everything can be taken away. As the excavator continued its rampage, residents tried to reason with the authorities. They called the sheriff's department, pleading for intervention. Their pleas were met with silence, then a chilling response. stay back, or face arrest. The very people sworn to protect them were now complicit in their eviction. When residents tried to document the destruction, their phones were confiscated. When they tried to form a human barricade, they were met with pepper spray and threats. The message was clear. Their voices didn't matter, their rights didn't matter. In the eyes of the law, they were invisible. Section 5. 10 days in the cold. Word of the Loyalton Mobile Estates eviction spread, sparking outrage and disbelief across the nation. Facing mounting pressure, a judge granted a temporary reprieve, halting the demolition for 10 days. But this small victory was a hollow one. The residents, their homes deemed uninhabitable, were forced to endure freezing temperatures with no heat, despite having electricity and running water. The lucky ones found refuge with family or friends. Others, with nowhere else to go, slept in their cars or huddled under makeshift shelters. The elderly and the sick shivered in the cold, their medications useless without proper heating. The 10-day grace period, far from a lifeline, was a cruel testament to the system's indifference to their plight. Section 6. The vulnerable abandoned. The plight of Loyalton's most vulnerable residents was particularly heartbreaking. Senior citizens, some with chronic illnesses, were left to fend for themselves. Children, their innocence shattered, watched in terror as their world crumbled around them. The elderly, their bones aching in the cold, clung to their walkers, their faces etched with despair. Families with young children struggled to keep their children warm and fed. The laughter of children playing, once a common sound in the park, was replaced by the sniffles of colds and the cries of hunger. The most vulnerable among them, those who had the least, were the ones who suffered the most. Section 7. A town left behind. 10 days came and went, and the demolition resumed with a vengeance. The excavator, like a mechanical predator, returned to finish its work. Soon, all that remained of Loyalton Mobile Estates was a pile of rubble, a scar on the landscape, and a community scattered to the winds. The residents, stripped of their homes and their dignity, were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Some found temporary housing, but many others were forced into homelessness, their dreams reduced to ashes. The town of Loyalton, once a symbol of small-town America, was now a symbol of injustice. Section 8. The Aftermath. The physical destruction of Loyalton Mobile Estates was swift and brutal, but the emotional and social scars run deep. Families were torn apart, their lives upended. Senior citizens, their golden years turned into a nightmare, were left to grapple with the trauma of losing their homes and their independence. The children, witnesses to the callous disregard for their community, will carry the emotional scars of that day for years to come. The sense of community, once a source of strength and support, was shattered. The American dream, once a beacon of hope, had become a cruel illusion. Section 9. Where was the justice? In the aftermath of the Loyalton Mobile Estates eviction, one question lingered: where was the justice? The owner, who had abandoned his responsibilities, was never held accountable. Mark Adams, the court-appointed receiver, faced no repercussions for his heartless actions. The authorities, sworn to uphold the law and protect the citizens, instead turned a blind eye to the plight of the residents. The media, with a few notable exceptions, largely ignored the story, or worse, portrayed the victims as squatters and criminals. Justice, it seemed, was a luxury reserved for the privileged, not for the residents of Loyalton Mobile Estates. Section 10. A call for change. The tragic events at Loyalton Mobile Estates serve as a stark reminder of the systemic failures that plague our society. The lack of affordable housing, the erosion of tenant rights, and the abuse of power by those in authority are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of a deeper malaise. We, as a society, have a moral imperative to demand better. We must hold our elected officials accountable for enacting laws that protect tenants from predatory landlords and unjust evictions. We must invest in affordable housing options so that everyone has a safe and decent place to live. Section 11. Never forget Loyalton. Let the story of Loyalton Mobile Estates serve as a wake-up call. Let it be a reminder that injustice thrives in the shadows of indifference. Let us remember the faces of the families who lost their homes, the seniors who were abandoned, and the children who were robbed of their innocence. Let us honor their memory by fighting for a more just and equitable society, one where everyone has a roof over their head and a place to call home. Let us never forget Loyalton.